sometimes I've just got to go on holiday. So I'm going to get one of my friends to do Raoul's Adventures in Crypto. So Sergio Silva is going to interview Farokh, who I've always wanted to interview, from Rug Radio. This is going to be a great Web3 conversation. I really hope you enjoy it. And I'll see you when I get back from my break.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Real Vision. Not Raoul Paul. Today, we're doing his Adventures in Crypto space. Sergio Silva, subbing in for him. Very excited about the episode we're going to have today. Have one of the legends of the NFT space, Farokh. He's also a good friend. Farokh, welcome.
Thank you. Appreciate that. I don't think I'm a legend yet, but we'll get there.
Awesome. Well, that's the attitude, and super happy to be chatting with you. You are a big content producer. You're a big networker in the space, and it's usually you who's sitting on my seat, hosting rooms, interviewing people. So I'm really looking forward to this conversation where we now get to put you on the hot seat.
Yeah, I'm excited. It's true. It's always weird for me not being on this side because I'm like usually asking questions, chilling.
Awesome. Well, definitely, as the producer said before we started recording, you're going to be at the pole position for the Real Vision Hair of the Year Award. With 6 months left in the year, or 7 months left in the year, definitely you're holding on to that pole. We'll see what other people that we can bring onto the show that might be able to top it. But I don't know. I'm with Nico and the production team. You're probably going to win it.
Yeah, you know what? I think so too, actually. I would say in the NFT space as a whole. I know some people are trying to question that, but
Awesome. Well, let's dive right into it. Let's walk through your background and how you started. I know you had a big social media presence, not really under your name, but you ran a couple of Instagram pages that were very, very popular. And tell me more about that.
Yeah, I mean, my background is really purely in social media, like straight up, though I went to law school. A lot of people don't know that, but after 3.5 years, that's when I was like, all right, that's not for me. But my background is heavily in social media. I started building pages on there when I was 12 years old, 27 now. No matter the platform, was Facebook was the first platform, etc. And I was always fascinated by like memes and like as a means of communication and the jokes and this and that, of course, that come with it. But also just the fact that we can like build a network of people from like your phone, right? Like from the tip of your thumbs, where when you hear that now, you're like, duh. But like 10 years ago, 12, 14 years ago, it was like, wow, are you like crazy or something, right? And so then like through Tumblr is when I really got my kick at the age of 15. In 2011, I started a blog called Mr. Goodlife, which is, mostly based about luxury and stuff like that, because that was like stuff I really always loved. And then I moved that to Instagram in 2014, where I went from 0 to 10 million followers across multiple pages in 2 years, really starting from scratch, from just like building pages. Because my thinking was, well, if I start a network of pages, I have multiple millions of followers on each page or hundreds of thousands, then I can build a media brand out of this and sell advertisement to brands and companies, right? Because you're not getting paid from the platform itself, right? You don't get paid by Instagram to post on Instagram, right? And so that was the thinking. So that's kind of like how I got my kick. Then I started a media company out of that. And 2020, that's when I got into Clubhouse, and then fell into NFTs, yada, 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 and ended up here with you on Real Vision.
Two things that, no, that's great. That's awesome. And I'm excited to dive into a couple of things that you said there. First, network. You were wanting to build a network of pages. And I know Raoul's big proposition for the value that crypto can amass is network effects, and that Metcalfe's law where the value of a network is the square of the number of endpoints that it has. And so you kind of did that yourself, but then you realize you're building value for Facebook or the companies that own those platforms, and then you were still instead trying to sell advertising or partner up with companies. Before we jump into transition to the NFTs, what was it like to try to monetize those pages? Like, did you have to go out to brands? Will they come to you? What does that behind the scenes look at the influencer's life look like?
It was crazy because when I started, like in 2014, but I really got started, I made my first dollar on Instagram on January 16th, 2015. I'll never forget that because I really only had $200 to my name, and that's what I started my business with. And so all I had was a broken up iPhone 5, like shattered screen. My MacBook wasn't working, and I just had these millions of I was growing bunch of followers online just from a tip, like from my phone. And then I was like, but wait, I was looking around me because I was never addicted to social media, but I always loved it for like the network effect side of it, right? And what you can do out of it. I was always like nerding about that. And so then I was like, but wait, everyone around me in class and stuff is addicted to this new thing called Instagram. It was like less than 100 million users back then. It's over 1 billion something now, right? It's the biggest thing. But back then it was like nobody was really on it. And so I was like, wait, I don't watch TV. And even if I watch TV when there's an ad, I go to the bathroom or I skip the channel or I check my phone, right? And so I was like, how do I bring the ad there? Like to this, because if people are scrolling, how do I bring the advertisers in there? So what I started doing is simple, which is not that simple, but still, like, I just found I would email like 300 to 500 companies per day. Standard email, copy pasta, Hi, I'm Farokh, and I have 100,000 followers on this page. And now, do you want to buy a shout out advert? And back then we were just like trying to find these, but then I found one, and then another one. And it was really cheap in terms of cost per eyeball, because on TV, you're paying hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars to have an ad spot, where here, you're capturing an audience of hundreds of thousands of dollars for like $0.0006 a person, right? Which is nothing. And so that's kind of like how I got it going. So I was just getting advertised by emailing until the stage where I was saying $50 shout outs. Then I had 10 pages. I was like, yo, I'll package you 10 for $400. And that's where I started making my first, kind of like my first box. And then you scale, right? $1,000 deals, $10,000 deals, $100,000. Like, that's from there. I just like got bigger in the space. And also the space grew immensely, right? So yeah, that's how it started.
So it seems like you were really, early to capitalize on the social media craze, you want to call it, or whatever it is. You say you're not addicted, but I think the majority of us maybe are.
Yeah.
And then, you come across, you mentioned Clubhouse, and though for our viewers that don't know Clubhouse was a kind of like live voice group chat app that was very, very popular into early last year, I would say. We now have Twitter Spaces, kind of like similar to that nature. To me, it's always sounded like AM radio, where people will call into shows and then just like share ideas.
Yeah.
But obviously Clubhouse was a big, important part of the early NFT ecosystem. How did you go from like Instagram and Facebook ads to being a presence on Clubhouse?
It's crazy. So like Clubhouse, first live social audio platform, right? Simple as that. Like that's what they were. Then Twitter Spaces really started taking over. And then we saw a lot, right? Because it's funny because it pioneered things, because then Discord added Discord stages, Reddit added voice chat, Twitter Spaces added Twitter added Twitter Spaces, and then Spotify added Green Room. But Clubhouse was really like the one, right? And so think about this. I'm in Montreal, Canada, where I'm right now. Peak quarantine, December 2020, 8 p.m. curfew. You step outside your house, $2,000 fine. You have someone over, $10,000 fine. So nothing to do at all, right? So we're peak COVID, peak quarantine was really bad, especially here in Quebec. They really shut us down for, I think, 18 months curfew, almost like 6 months straight curfew, but 18 months, But point being, so I found out about this app called Clubhouse. And I'm like, what the hell is that? Everybody's talking about it. It's live social audio. Sounds fun, right? So I go on there and I start a room with my friend Buster. And we used to create content together on Instagram too. And so we go on there and then we start talking about our predictions for what's coming in 2020. We're just talking, shooting the shit like we are right now. And so we open this Clubhouse room and there's 2 listeners. And for 4 hours, we're there talking, yip-yapping about what's going to happen next year, social media, our thoughts, and that's when I realized, I was like, I got hooked. It was on that night in December 28th, I think. And I was like, wow, this app is going to change the world, because live social audio is so powerful. Because I can just share with people, but there's an audience. And so then I started showing up every single day. I got addicted. And there used to be these rooms about social media marketing, growing a brand and building followers, which is something I've mastered, right? Because I've done it for 8 years already at the time, right? And so I go on there, I start giving tips and tricks about how to do that. I had my club called All Things Social Media. We'd talk with people and then started hosting the celebrities and this and that. And so it became really this thing, right? And you fast forward to February 18th, one night, I'm on Clubhouse. I'm just in another room, but that room is about collectibles and this thing called NFT. And I'm like, what the hell is an NFT? Literally, I had no idea. And I had just gotten to crypto, actually, because I'm not a crypto expert. I'm a social media kid, though. You don't understand memes. And so I get in there, so I'll get my friend Buster, and then the room blows up to 2,000 people. And all of a sudden, there's Thank You X, Victor Mascara, Fuck Render, Ferocious, audience, Greg Mike, like 20 people come on stage, gets rated 2,000 people in the audience talking about this thing called NFTs. And that night, I remember from 12 to 4 a.m., I was that guy. What's an NFT? How does it work? Why does it have value? How does it work with the blockchain? How does blockchain even work? Like, I'm asking all these questions, but it clicked. Because as a social media kid who was born from the memes, who was born from this social media internet era, right? It just made sense for me that community builders and developers like myself, people who've been building community for 10 years on social media, never got a dime from it, right? We added value to Meta. We added value to Clubhouse. We added value to Twitter. Added value to Reddit, but never to Farokh, right? Except that I had an audience, but it's not mine because they can shut it down tomorrow. And from that, I was like, whoa, it clicks. Like, you tell me, like, artists can reclaim their art and the money they're owed. Musicians, this that, but also community builders. So it clicked for me. And the next day, bro, I got so addicted. I bought my first NFT, Aku, Genesis, Michael Johnson. I know you're a fan. And from there on, every day I started hosting a room about NFTs, but asking the questions, kind of like you are right now. I was the one asking all the questions. So why, this, that, and then that's it, man. The rest is history. Like, I just started collecting, meeting people, networking. Like, I just didn't stop. It's the same thing every day now.
No, it's amazing. It's been amazing, like, to watch you grow. I remember we connected early on, and just to see you build and continue to grow. So let's go back to that night though, the one where you're in a room, NFTs, you have no idea what's going on. You mentioned a bunch of like really now famous artists who were also now we're all friends, but they were also just kind of like finding their space in this like new ecosystem and this new like renaissance of art. And you're getting questions answered. If you go back to that night, and was there anything that really, was there one specific thing that clicked? You said the community building. Obviously, crypto's a big part of enabling that kind of like permissionless, decentralized, no censorship, distributed, kind of like available to anybody with an internet connection. Was there anything like very, very specifically that you can say, okay, haha, this is it? Or was it just the broader concept of applying what you had seen in like Instagram and Facebook onto a different platform?
It was really like, I swear to God, now it's a meme, sadly, a year and a half later, but like the community that was like really brought me in, and the art. Because like when we first got in, Sergio, you were there. It was all about art. Like, there was no collectible, there was no board that started this whole trend of like trading. I know you were trading punks, etc., but it's much smaller scale in the micro bubble compared to the trading size now. It's all trading now, if anything, right? And that's why people talk about the art. They miss it again. But back then it was like I said, my teachers were Thank You X, Victor Ferocious, Fuck Render. That's my teachers in the space. So for me, it was like really the art in this community feel, which was beautiful. Like, we were addicted, Sergio. You were there. You were on Clubhouse. Like, you're one of the people who told me get a punk, right? But it's like, it was like, back then it was like we were just so like hooked. We were excited to come and speak about how there was this technology that was, like you said, permissionless, and everything was about to let us maybe change the world for real. Like, it's a dream of mine since I'm a kid. It's no secret. It's not even a cheesy quote type thing. Like, some 14, my dream is actually like trying to make an impact in the world while making an impact on myself. And I feel like Web3, this thing they call Web3 and crypto, allows that. Though I was late to crypto, I understand trends and society and people. So when crypto really clicked into my head, because I had been doing research for years before that, it's like, wow, like, you have this tool, this tech, and you have the people, and you can just create something all together that's so much bigger and so much better than everything we have, whether it's in media, whether it's in banking, whether it's in art, whether it's in anything. Like, I don't know. It just made sense. I'm sure you had this moment. It's like, I don't know. It just makes sense. Like, it's hard to explain.
It is very hard to explain sometimes. And I've tried to like explain it on Real Vision and outside of it. And it's been like, okay, well, it's really hard to pinpoint that moment. So that's why I was asking you, because I feel very similar to you. It was about that community and just the people that you met and the energy that you felt. I remember people saying, and you touched on it, right? The pandemic, we were all indoors, all like quarantine, couldn't go anywhere, couldn't see anybody. A lot of my friends, for example, here in New York moved out, so I couldn't even hang out with them, and found like new friends online. I remember people saying, well, when like, quarantine goes away, when we can all go outside, they take away the restrictions, all that's going to collapse. And on the flip side, we saw just like gigantic explosion of the right way of NFTs and everything that come with it. What do you think, kind of like drove that second wind of NFTs, call it late summer into the fall of 2021?
I gotta say, man, like Clubhouse, if Clubhouse is one thing for us all, it gave NFTs a voice. And that's extremely important to not forget that, because from my research understanding, because I got into crypto 2021, NFTs 2021, so I don't know, but I wasn't ever around before, but from my understanding of things, it was mostly in pockets of Twitter and in Discord, and very little things in gatherings, very rare, right? And different pockets. You have the rare Pepe squad crew with Bitcoin NFTs, and the art, like the purists, right? The X copies, etc. Then you have the punks. That's when D's, etc. Seed phrase, he talks about the punk chat on Discord back then with Von Mises, etc. But like Clubhouse came and gave all these people a voice to express themselves. That's what Ryan refers to a lot. Thank you, X. And so for me, I just wanted, when I found out about Clubhouse and I got big on NFTs, I just wanted to become the bridge between Web 2 and Web 3, between, the community, that's this community and that community, and just trying to become a voice for it, right? Because I thought it was the most important thing I could do. That was my place in the space. So I think that's what Clubhouse allowed, is that it allowed, NFTs and even the crypto space, but to really have a voice. And I think that played a lot into the boom that you're talking about for the summer, right? Because it pushed the Nifty gateway drops and stuff. Remember, it was crazy, and then the art and this and that. Then they went on and they became really big on their own, etc. More platforms came about. So I think that was one of the main causes. It was the acceleration of the network effect. Because if you do a quick Google search on about the network effect, that's what social media always did. If Web 2 was good for one thing, is really masterminding how to connect a bunch of people from around the world together and on one specific thing or topic, right? Whereas Web3 and crypto, NFTs, which is a layer on top of that, on top of this social media and Web2, allows us to actually now work together and build on top of that. So that's what happened, I think. It's just the fact that we all just quarantine, cryptos pop in, right? Ether's up, I don't know how much %, and then Clubhouse and Twitter. Like Twitter is so pivotal to NFTs.
It's crazy how Twitter became kind of like
we saved Twitter. They know it. They know.
Town Square.
Elon.
Shout out to Justin Taylor. Yeah, no. So let's unpack what you said about, the growth. And I want to touch on, again, just Clubhouse. Those nights, obviously, I was not into the Bored Ape Club. I was part of the punks community. We kind of discounted it. Bored Apes really introduced something that I want to dedicate some time on after this question, which is utility and the concept of utility and what that has kind of like opened up in the world of NFTs. But let's go back to, late April, early May. Bored Ape Yacht Club is launching, is one of yet another many projects that have been launching then. But there's a few guys, few girls that are hanging out every night making monkey noises on Clubhouse.
I was there.
So I know you were there. I know you were responsible for getting a bunch of artists to buy into the Bored Apes. What was it about the Bored Apes that told you, hey, this might be a really good project to buy versus, some other stuff that was dropping along the same time?
I mean, it's crazy because like I got my first apes the day after it minted out. So it minted out overnight on the last day of April. Wake up one morning and my feed on Twitter is full of apes. Everyone, even I remember Nest Graphics would DM me like, yo, you need to get on that. Like everybody, Fuck Render and John Knopf and Jeff Nicholas and everyone. And so I'd go on Clubhouse and I'm like, damn, these things are really everywhere. And maybe then I was like, that's when I started getting them, and then we started making these Clubhouse rooms and just making monkey noises and talking about apes, and then they released the IP and like, wait, what? But you see now, like releasing an IP for you is like, okay, it's basic, it's normal, it's part of the. But like back then when they did it, right? Because the punks didn't have him either, and it was a big topic of discussion, right? They did that. I think that's what was about the board, is because I was on Clubhouse. I remember being there when we had the conversation. Wait, what does that mean? What am I allowed to do with my ape? You're telling me I can make a derivative and resell it and make money without giving it to the Bored Ape Yacht Club? Wait, you're telling me that I can put on a t-shirt or on a sweater, whatever, on a hat? So that was like the conversation that sparked. And Clubhouse was good for that, is conversation, right? It was really an amazing time. And so we were like visiting it. And I guess also like, look, I know a lot of people don't like the art, but we all thought they were fire. Like they were cool. And we were like, you know what? We can't afford punks, right? So, and back then punks was like 20-ish, right? It was like 55K, but it was like 4K ETH. 20, for and so it was still not affordable, and like Bored Apes was the first one that really like hit. And so that's kind of what happened. And then the community, they had their own Discord community, and there was the like Discord Bored Apes, and there was like Clubhouse Bored Apes. But we were like running rooms all day, every day with the artists, and the artists got on, and the artists started making derivatives, and derivatives started becoming really big and reselling. So I think that's what was the Bored Ape effect. It's like, it was the reason why it was bigger than what everybody discounted it as, was that because people were really building identity around their apes, and like building art around it, thus making it really big. So a network effect really went into full like action with the Bored Ape Yacht Club. It's crazy. Like, I can't believe we'll be able to say we saw that.
I remember seeing people changing their, I guess I had punks, and we really pride ourselves on being like the OG community. And I think it was the first time I realized, digital identity was really, really important. So we prided ourselves in having that. And then I remember the same thing, logged into Twitter, and people were changing their profile picture that was not maybe NFT related or was not part of a bigger NFT community just yet, and they changed it to apes. And I did end up grabbing some because of that. I never really identified myself, but it was definitely one of the signs for me. And
Yeah.
and I think it was the first time where you actually had like identity layers playing out on social media beyond just Farokh or whatever personal brand people had built. Now you were part of something bigger. Now you mentioned the second thing, and you're really, I think, smart at bringing it up again, which was that whole giving people the IP over their ape. It's taken for granted today. You're right, and now we have even like the CCO part
Yeah.
of the market where that allows people to use any of the IP of a CCO project. But apes getting their own IP was a huge moment. And it's obviously had a huge impact today. Did you have any specific thoughts as to what you wanted to do with your apes? Or I was just like, okay, this is great to have right now. We'll see what comes out of it.
Yeah, me personally, because I built my identity around my name. It's like Farokh is the brand, not you. That's why I changed my PFPs like I change underwear. You know me on Twitter. But it's
Every
because
2 weeks? I'm glad you
yeah.
wash them every 2 weeks.
No, but like it's like my identity is Farokh, right? It's who I am. But I did like I was like curious about. Wait, you tell me I can make a coffee brand, I can make a wheat strain, I can make this. Like it was always a thought. That's where my thought was directly, not on the art, but mostly on like the brandability of it and how you could take it and do something really big out of that. And like I saw it immediately. Like I don't know, it's just like it just made sense, I guess, given my background too. And then I was actually the first person to make an account for my ape. So Bored Ape 6250 I was the first person to make a Twitter account. I believe I was first that it was an ape. So I gave an identity to the ape. So that's where I was, because I was Farokh, but then I built we used to like raid Clubhouse rooms. I would announce on that Twitter account which Clubhouse room we're raiding to make monkey noises in, etc. And like there's a bunch of derivatives on there. So I started building him as his own like identity. I remember some artists even went and like make art around it and derivatives of it. So that's how I was thinking about it, and also the brandability. But like again, back then the conversation was much more about art than it was today about like a food chain restaurant. You saw the thing, Food Ape, or like you're seeing like a bunch of things, right? I saw Bored Ape, like I saw like a weed brand. That was so funny. But yeah, it's just that's how I always saw it personally.
No, that's amazing. And I think, Raoul mentioned when he bought his ape, and I personally pitched him punks hard. I wrote him a really long
I'm
email
sure you
pitching
did.
punks.
And me bits.
I'll ask Raoul for permission to one day maybe release the email, because I thought it was a great pitch. I should have bought more punks in that pitch. But when he did buy his ape, which is a very handsome ape, if I must say, with olive wreath, he talks about the ape and the IP kind of like becoming the platform and the ability to build on top of that. And like, obviously, we saw a lot of the famous artists that bought apes to become part of Web3. And so that's been interesting to watch and watch it progress. And so it went from the IP to then utility, which is one of the reasons we were excited to talk to you about, because you have a big project, Rock Radio, tons of utility. But before we focus on it, let's talk about just utility overall assets, currently understood in the NFT ecosystem. Like, to Farokh, what is NFT utility?
To me, I have a very broad definition of it, because utility depends case by case on the person or the project, right? So utility could be for an artist as much as a smile on my face or an emotion it makes me feel. I have it where my Vans Go by Drift. It makes me feel good. And that's utility to me, right? But then again, for some projects, I'm expecting different things from it, right? So when the Bored Apes came about, that's how they really like shifted the IP talk, but also utility talk, right? Because they started delivering a lot. That's when even the first conversation with like punks and apes started really happening, versus like, y'all do nothing, but we're getting this. But both work. Like the historical / identity, brandability, and the asset that represents the CryptoPunk for me is enough utility. I don't need more. I don't want a coin for it, right? Token. But from the apes, I think it's cool, right? And I think it's necessary for them to keep delivering things like Other Sideline, the Mutant, the Kennel, etc. So for me, utility is very broad. It could be anything that adds value to me as a holder. But what's value then? It could be an emotion, or it could be financial. It could be a token that I then cash out for $100,000 that we've seen with the Bored Ape Yacht Club, right? So that's how I see utility. It could be access. It could be, I mean, all the keywords, right? It's like, that's just the way I see it. It's really
Okay, so you
case
see
by
a
case.
very broad definition of utility. But if we take it back, for example, to the Bored Apes, like they launched with a roadmap, which was also something innovative for the space. Kind of like, you're buying this, and this is what we will seek to deliver in the next 6 to 12 months. You know, everything from companion drop to an eventual real life party, Ape Fest, that happened here in New York in November of last year. And people started taking utility as to, you know, mean that they were going to get to do something with their NFT beyond just, you know, the beauty of the smile that might be brought up with saying something like Matt Duck Jones art or Ferocious art. And the market has taken it and run with it. What do you think, outside of, you know, the intangibles that you've described, but what do you see as the more promising uses of that utility promise or that utility function that NFTs can unlock in the world?
It's really incredible because they can unlock anything. Like even projects I've seen that are not doing good, like for me, like a project can almost never die because you never know what you can end up adding to it, like in a year time, or like in 6 months time, or 3 months, and you can shape and shift differently, right? That's why some founders are better than others, because they know how to like adapt and change, because the space changes a lot. That's why roadmaps are very hard to follow in Web3, because it's like, well, like things change overnight in this space. But you know, utility in terms of the apes, I think like, I don't know. I just think like the only issue where we're at right now is a year ago the conversation would be different, because we'd have expectations from every team now, etc., that this is what they're gonna do. We're gonna hold them accountable to it. And now, like a year later, it's just like we've seen so much utility just never happen, or so much utility realize that we don't even need it or want it, or maybe like it was just a buzzword and being used and abused also in the many ways. So it's just a weird conversation to me now. I think utility should be like, I don't know. It's really depends. Like from the Bored Ape Yacht Club, they're delivering more a game now, which is great utility for the ape, because then he's going to be probably able to play and earn token for it, right? You know, I don't know. It's like, you know what I mean? Like it's just we've gone to like this weird phase of utility.
That's why I'm asking you, because you know,
it's so
it's been one of those things where people confuse number go up for utility as well, right? If the price of the NFT appreciates, and for the broader Real Vision audience that might not be deep in the weeds of NFTs, like some others, NFTs have done really well as far as price performance, not just Bored Apes, but stuff like Doodles, stuff like Cool Cats, they had their moment, and so many other projects. People tend to like them even more as the price goes up, which is really funny.
Well, that's the thing too. That's utility too for most people. Let's be honest on Real Vision, because it's called Real for a reason. Like, you know, most people's utility is number go up. Like literally, I'm a market participant. And also I'm a founder, so I study the market. Like most people only want the price to go up, but it's tough. Let me tell you that.
Yeah, definitely tough, and obviously depends on a lot of other reasons. So people confuse utility for number go up, or utility give me something that I can sell for money and obviously monetize my NFT. But you know, founders have seen that there's more to utility than just making your collectors rich, which is nice to have, right? It's a way of delivering value, but there's much more to that, and that's where you come in. You obviously are a communicator, a content creator. You saw an opportunity to create a Web3, decentralized media platform. And so you started Rock Radio, which, you know, I'll let you describe what Rock Radio is.
Yeah, I mean, Rug Radio is a fully decentralized media ecosystem / platform that is tokenized and governed by DAO. So the Rug DAO and the Rug token. And so our vision for it, when I say fully decentralized, is over a couple of years, right? Because decentralization as it is now, you don't just get decentralization, right? You gotta work towards it. That's how things tend to go. And so basically speaking, is that we have multiple hosts, part of Rug Radio, that run multiple shows right now on Twitter Spaces, but we're platform agnostic, so we're starting to take it to other platforms like Apple Podcasts, Spotify. We have YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, all that stuff incoming. And so we found a way to equip these hosts with a host pass or creator pass that yields them token for creating content. And then our holders of the NFTs, the Rug Radio Genesis NFTs, to yield token every day for being part of the ecosystem. So in this matter, you get rewarded for creating content, but you also get rewarded for participating and consuming that content, right? And the way it started, it stemmed off an idea that we had on Twitter Spaces back then, if I could take it back a bit, is we're all talking on a 10-hour-long Twitter Spaces. And then someone in my Discord was like, it's too bad I gotta go to sleep because I have my $11 an hour job tomorrow I have to go back to. And I was like, wait, this space, because we just had a conversation for I don't know how many minutes about how this space is incredible, is permissionless. There's a way to create revenue and to really change your life, but also to like learn a lot about it and change the world, right? So I was like, what if people could get paid to consume content that we're producing every single day on the space, etc., create some sort of like UBI so that they can educate themselves and therefore go make a living within the space, no matter the pocket of the space. And at the same time, the creators who are constantly putting content out there get rewarded for that too. Because something that in Web 2 you didn't see. Because though Web 2 helped master the creation of massive networks that we just talked about, Web 3 allows you to get paid. And that's the key difference that's happening here. So that's what Rug Radio is. It's like, I know I can get super long-winded about it because I love it and I'm passionate. And it's still a very complicated concept because we're so new to these things and DAOs and tokens, etc. But the broad vision is that, is to really create a media platform that's owned by the people, where people own the narrative and create that narrative, because it's super important to me.
So Web3 has been called like the ownership layer of the internet. And so what you're telling us is that Rug Radio allows you to not just be a content creator and monetize your content, but you also get to be a participant and earn something from being on the other side of that, and kind of like bringing it full circle. And then you integrate NFTs. You mentioned kind of like the creator pass. You mentioned the participant pass. Can you explain more as to how those NFTs interact with the ecosystem or with each other?
Yeah, of course. So basically the way we did the launch is we did 20,000 membership passes that were free. So people just had to pay for the gas, which is actually pretty low. Shout out to Syndicate DAO for that. But the gas like a little $10. And so basically we did, and 1,000 of them went to the DAO, so 19,000 of them. So you would get a free membership pass, right? The first utility of that NFT, which is a fully composable on-chain ERC-721 token, was that you would get to mint one Genesis rug on January 11th for 0.11 ETH. But that's just, so it acts as a mint pass, but that's not just it, right? It's actually a key to the entire ecosystem that we're building. Like right now, for example, I know we're platform agnostic, but we're also building our very own Web3 platform where you're going to be able to participate to earn on the platform, on all the content that we're creating on multiple shows, but also learn to earn, right? So you're going to be able to take quizzes, etc., on the matter, because our key is we're really big on education at Rug Radio. And so you're going to be able to earn token for that, right? And we've already done that, but we can get to that after. But anyway, so you have the membership pass, which gives you access to the ecosystem that we're building, right? And so there's 19,000 of them in circulation. But then you also have 19,000 NFTs, because the other 1,000 are in the DAO, which those NFTs yield a different amount of Rug token per day, depending on how rare they are, right? So it's 5, 7, or 11. And so these tokens, once you amass 1,800 of them, you can get one RDAO token, which is a DAO token, so that you can get access to the DAO, which governs over the entire thing. And so the stage that we're in right now with Rug Radio is that we have a 33-member DAO council that was elected last month, which is incredible. Like people such as Keith Grossman, president of Time, John Legere, ex-CEO T-Mobile, Anjali Kapoor, who's an ex, she's works at Dow Jones, and she's ex CNN, all these big like media brands and companies. Awesome. She's in Hong Kong, but also like the daily community builders of the NFT space and other builders and founders are not as big, but are actually building in a space, like Richard, who's massive, with Manifold, Betty, with Dead Fella. So anyways, we have a DAO council, and they're working on all the framework right now so that the people can go and vote on it. So whether it's on the core team, on the shows, on the content, on the platform side. So that's really how it is. It's going to be like, it's super participatory, and it's something that everybody can partake in.
I'm really excited to see it like come to fruition, and
Same.
obviously seeing
It's
you build it. And so just for the audience here, again, you gave out free passes pretty much, right? Those were NFTs. So that was one usage of the NFT. Those passes then allowed you to buy a rug from you guys, from, I guess, the treasury. That is then the NFT that yields tokens every day. And those tokens you can then collect, aggregate, buy more of in the market from other participants, to buy, or I guess become a member of the DAO. And is that Rug DAO token, is that an NFT or is that a fungible
No, that's
token?
also the ERC20. So the two NFTs that we have are the membership pass and the Rug Radio Genesis NFT. So the rugs, which are Twitter banners, so it's pretty cool. And then I didn't want to do PFP, right? And then the ERC20 tokens, we have the Rug token and the Rug DAO token.
Awesome. All right. So I guess you've shown how, you can use NFTs for more than just the profile picture. You can use it as a membership pass, as an access pass, as ability, kind of like a ticket to, in this case, was the ticket to mint your rugs, but it could be a ticket to anything. And then the other use of the NFT that you have is one that, constantly daily rewards holders, collectors, or can be a way to deliver value. So I guess something, start extrapolating it to the rest of, commercial activity could be something like, airline reward programs. Like, could that be eventually an NFT that then kind of like aggregates or accumulates points? What was that? Sorry, I didn't hear you.
No, I'm saying it should be. Like, that's literally how everything should be. Like, all the rewards and stuff. Starbucks card, NFT, like,
Yeah, and then you can sell it in the secondary market, kind of like opens up liquidity, gives you ability to monetize, even though, like, earlier we talked about monetizing your own content that you put on platforms, that before you couldn't. Now you can even monetize kind of like your social activity in that, maybe somebody sells the rug later on down the road, and is able to capture some of that value that was accrued through time as they participate in the ecosystem. It's pretty cool. And I think, it's exciting to talk about utility beyond number go up, or beyond just, giving more NFTs that I can eventually sell. I know you have some like big partnerships on the pipeline. I know you probably can't speak about them, but, as you kind of like go back and talk to your former contacts at all these other companies that you used to advertise for, what's the reception that you've gotten? Have you seen like a change from a year ago till today when it comes to Web3? What can you share with us about that?
I mean, a year ago, again, like, it was like almost like they were seeing it as a joke. Like, remember when I told you about I started on Instagram back then? People thought it was a joke. I went on national television to tell people to start an Instagram page for their business in 2016, and they laughed at me. And now there's not a business that doesn't have an Instagram page. Straight up. You can't even open a coffee shop if you don't use Instagram. And so, but point being is, it was the same thing for NFTs, but now the reception, bro, is like the phone doesn't stop buzzing. Like, it's impossible for me to even get to every person because physically I don't have enough minutes in a day. And you know that. I'm sure like a lot of people are hitting you up for help me with this, help me with that, advice, and get on this, that. So it's like, now it's like crazy. It's like, honestly, like, we're still very early because a lot of people still don't understand the bigger, broader concepts that we're trying to bring to the table. Like, I understand that a lot of people may not understand Rug Radio at first glance. It is complicated. There is a lot of layers to it. But I don't expect everyone to also understand the blockchain just yet. And a lot of people still don't, Sergio. You know what I mean? A lot of people see it, naysay us, even crypto, etc. So for them to even get that. But for me, I was trying to see, maybe create an infrastructure that will make people understand, like, hey, guess what? Not only do you get rewarded for creating, you should be rewarded for participating because you're giving your time, and your time is worth something because you're helping me build my platform. So it's platform, instead of being platform first, then creator, then consumer. It's participant, so no more consumers. It's participant, creator, and platform, but in a loop because it keeps adding value to one another. So even the way we're approaching partnerships, like you're saying, let's say Real Vision wants to partner up with Rug Radio. What's the only way to partner with us? Well, is by acquiring Rug token and by acquiring the Genesis NFTs, which drives more value to the holders of the project. So it's literally a perfect loop. So that's the way I'm trying to explain it to the broader ecosystem of people. It's like the same way right now with Steppen, right? I don't even have it or anything, but it's like you get paid to walk, like paid to earn, a play to earn, or like everything should be to earn in a way, if it's like of value. So we just did a month-long education program called When DAO and When Token. So we partnered with Ledger on the security front, with Manifold and Richard from the token part, and Syndicate DAO. And so Will Papper and Mel, who gave the course on DAOs. And at the end of the 4-week program, Sergio, people were able to pass a quiz and earn a rug token if they got 100%. But they could obviously keep passing until they got 100, but at least they got to learn and read the courses, etc., and pass it. And so those are the things that I think would entice people. Because if I told you to get paid to stay in school, you'd have stayed in school, right? But
I mean, I still have friends in school right now. I mean, it's been 15 years or something. They're still,
no, you know. I mean it's people in general. And so imagine you can reward people from participating in the dopest industry on the planet, which is NFTs and crypto, and like learn about the most awesome like thing that's going on, which is a digital renaissance that's going on right before our eyes. We're talking about that's where we're at.
All right, so obviously we're super bullish and really excited about the future. But let's take the other side of the coin, right? And then you mentioned Steppen. I'm a big Steppen user, and just again for the audience, Steppen is a dApp, a Web3 dApp on Solana that you can buy an NFT that represents a sneaker, and then you can go and it's a game. You can use it and you can earn tokens as you move. So as you walk, and again, it has game features. So it's only certain periods of the day that you can do it, and only so often. And depending on which sneaker you own or how many you own, you get more or less tokens. I love it. It's gotten me out. Talked about in the pandemic, being indoors for 2 years. I kind of like gained a little weight. This has been my motivation to get out. So it's awesome. But a lot of people say, this play to earn, move to earn, kind of like log in to earn, watch to earn is not sustainable, right? It's kind of like not really something that will sustain. It's not something that people can live off of, as you kind of like alluded to earlier. What would you say to that? Like, what is your your usual pushback to those concerns?
I don't know the step like the other companies how they do it. I just know the way we do it, and it makes sense. Like the way the tokenomics structure was set up by Mal, who's the person who built the tokenomics for Rug Radio. It's just like it's a slow rollout over 5 years, and the amount of token we have total is being generated right now by the NFTs that we have. And then this one NFT that stays in the bank that generates a token, which then go to the holders, which then go to the holders, and then they can trade it for DAO tokens or just like keep them, right? And then eventually use them for much more. So it's like a slow rollout. So tokens are scarce. So that's the way we approach it, right? So it's a more scarce approach. If there's pushback on the entire side of the things, I don't really know. Honestly, we haven't really received on my end the pushback like the other bigger brands have. Maybe because we're not as big as they are. So maybe we haven't seen at that scale. I don't know how many users are Steppen, but we still have like 14,000 holders, and things are seeming to work very well for us in the way the structure was built. But I haven't really seen much pushback on the whole matter. Nor am I a tokenomics expert, because I'm not the one who built it, right? So it's hard for me to put a tokenomics hat on and be like, yo, so about this.
No, for sure. And I think, mostly on Twitter, you see it I think I mentioned to Raoul that interview that we did late last year, how I still have like my macro Twitter, and it's all super pessimistic and the world's going to end. And then I have like my NFT Web3 Twitter.
Because we're bullish on like, we're not, because you and I like, and even a lot of people.
I think it's optimism, right? That's what it is. It's like the ability.
We're bullish on the technology. Like, we know that in 10 years, it's still going to be there. The micro stuff, I don't pay attention to it,
No, for sure. And I agree with you. And I spend so much time kind of looking at the cracks and looking for the cracks on the trading desk and trying to monetize that, when you just be optimistic, be smart and realistic at the same time. But, kind of like what you did, not just once with social media, but now also with Web3 and NFTs and everything that you built, kind of like say, okay, well, what are the possibilities here? How do I get on top of it? And let's go and build something, which I think it's the most important thing, especially as we start to go into like this, kind of like potential crypto winter, potential bear. Obviously, big thing is it's for builders. And it's funny because not everybody has to be a founder, right? Like you have a lot of friends that are not founders really, but that
No.
continue to participate in the space, even through education. That's a way of participation. That's a way of building your own knowledge base, and it's super exciting to be a part of it. Before we wrap up, is there anything that you're extremely excited about that we haven't talked about yet? Obviously, Rock Radio being your top priority here, but anything that you're seeing in the next quarter, 6 months in NFTs that you are super excited that you want to share with the audience?
I'm just like a lot of people know that. Like I'm generally just excited about the space as a whole because I just love the way we keep growing, learning. There's steps of the way that there's setbacks and maybe there's a bear or not. The way it's going. Of course there is, but what I'm saying is like we're still gonna be here, right? Like the space can be here. You were saying like everyone's just as important, like the enjoyer or like the builder or like the they're all the collector or like they're all important, right? They're all just as important in this space. I just think we need to like if there's like during this bear, and if this downturn happens to be prolonged, whatever the word is, then we just need to stick together and just keep the same optimism towards building this one, big thing that we're all pushing and moving together. I think it's important more people collaborate. I think it's more important people like push one another and help one another build because we're all trying to go to the same way and we have a bigger fight to fight. Like there's a much bigger war happening outside against us all in the crypto and NFT space. And I think we need to just all focus on that. So that's why I'm looking forward to the next 3 to 6 months is more collaborations, more building, and more maturity in the space. And it's coming, every single day. I'm feeling really good about what I'm seeing and whether some people are leaving and coming. Like I'm excited to welcome more and more users as well.
And welcoming, what would you say to somebody that's maybe not 27 years old, maybe doesn't have a lot of Instagram experience, but has been hearing about this NFT stuff and Web3 stuff, and obviously Real Vision, Raoul, myself, we've been talking a lot about it. They're finally saying, okay, I want to jump in. I don't have 22 hours a day to be on Discord and Twitter. What will be your advice to people like that who just want to experience it a little bit and might not have the bandwidth to do so? I feel like there's a lot of opportunities, but what do you think?
Honestly, like, and I understand because I come to realize that too, by the way, Sergio. I had to realize that not everyone is like 24/7 NFTs. People have jobs too outside of, outside of the crypto thing. And they're using NFTs as a means to try to get out of it, but they still have that, right? And so my advice would be don't stress it. Like this technology, these people, like they're not going anywhere. And this, if you actually believe that this is going to be something for 10, 20, 30, 50 years, then don't rush, don't worry, do allocate time for it to learn and do a lot of learning and a lot of asking. I don't care how stupid someone thinks their question sounds. There's no stupid questions. My first question was, what the hell is the blockchain and what's an NFT? That's how I got in with these questions, right? And why is this worth something? Right. And so get involved, listen to the right podcasts and people, like find like this Real Vision. I know you guys are really good because like you guys really have great guests on and you create yourself. We have a morning show Monday to Friday that I like to think within an hour and a half, we're capable of producing good content that is quality, meaning you know what the market's about, you know what's coming up and the topic of the day. Just try to listen to like little things, right? That's where we position Rug Radio is education and media mixed together. And so I think listening to the right people, following the right path, and not trying to chase the next ether bag because that'll burn you faster than it'll like make you. So it's really about taking it easy, step at a time, get involved, find friends and groups, make group chats, talk together. Like this space that's what's up, right? Like I think, just immersing, like let yourself fall in love with the space, like you can't fake this. What we have, the energy and the excitement is genuine. So just let yourself just like, enjoy the space.
That's what we all did at the end of the day, right? We all fell in love and now we're here thinking, sleeping, breathing Web3 NFTs all day long. And education, obviously Real Vision, great place for that. A lot of awesome videos, and a lot of content in the library. And Rug Radio, check it out. Rug FM is the website. And you're Farokh on Twitter. I'm Sergitos. Yeah, so you're Farokh everywhere. Twitter, Instagram, Discord. And I'm Sergitos sitting in for Raoul today. I'm excited to continue this journey of exploration, learning, discovery. And thank you guys so much for listening in. And thank you, Farokh, for being an amazing, amazing guest today. We're all jealous of your hair. That's it for today. Thanks, everybody. Goodbye.
Thank you. Love y'all. Peace out.
Hey visionaries, thank you for tuning in. For more free crypto content like this, head over to realvision.com/crypto. You'll get early access to the most brilliant minds in the space to cut through the noise, get in-depth analysis, and get you ahead of the curve with unbiased insights.